Where do I start? Where do I begin? How do I start?
I don't, because when I first sort of came here and you asked me that question, my first reaction was to think of something massive, something big, something monumentous. That's what extraordinary meant to me. And I think once, and even down to when we were sitting and writing down what extraordinary meant to us, I don't know, the words were just coming out, and it wasn't until today that it suddenly dawned on me what it meant to me, which is freedom. That's the biggest thing, and what a life of freedom means and what that would then give. And that's freedom of choice and freedom to be me, the real me, and not hide anymore. And to let the real me out. And that, if I could do that and live like that all the time, rather than just tiny little glimpses, or the last time the real me was out was years and years and years ago, then that would be a fantastic, energetic, happy life. That would be extraordinary to me. And then I suppose in turn, if I was, because even when she's just slipped out a little bit, I felt energetic and happy, and I've found that I've attracted that around me as well. So imagine what I could do if I was out all the time. That's what I'm thinking.
What's interesting is, until I met you, I'd never considered that extraordinary was two words. I'd always said it's extraordinary. So I just strung it all together. I'd never considered the gravity of what that meant. And I think for most of my life, I'd been living a very ordinary, by my interpretation, life. And I was kind of going through the motions, playing by the rules. And the extra part for me comes from when I began to break away from the rules. And I think what it comes down to is I've experienced over the last couple of years, well, last 2 or 3 years, but particularly the last 6 to 8 months, is just tapping into my heart space and letting that rule my head. Because for my entire life, my head has been in control. And my head has been the part of me that's allowed others to influence and dictate how I played out my ordinary life. And in giving myself permission to be more me, and I'm still finding out what me is, and letting that process evolve, and just coming from that heart center space over the head space, that's what extraordinary is. But just allowing that distinction, acknowledging there's 2 words within that one word, is that in itself a big thing. What is ordinary, and so therefore what is extraordinary? And it's it's living from the heart.
What do you notice?
Well, I took this question a little bit differently when we've been working over the weekend. As it would be, I started off with, it would be extraordinary if, and I had this idea of all the things that would be extraordinary to me if, and then I realised overnight that actually there isn't an if. There isn't an if with this. So extraordinary means for me just the simplicity of finding joy, being joyful, finding joy in absolutely where you are at, that it's okay. In fact, I remember back to the very first Love, Serve, Create and being sat with Jane Bytheway, and I can't remember what the question was at that point, but the idea was what we were going to create, what were we going to do in the world, how were we going to show up. And I remember being so upset because all I could think of was I just wanted people to know it was okay. And that hasn't changed for me. 12 months on, anything and everything that I do, I just feel so strongly in my heart that you can find joy in anything and everything, even where you're at now, and that it's absolutely okay to be where you are now. So for me, extraordinary is finding the joy in where you are. And I do that every day. I love that. I do it every single day. So it's actually, I feel, for me, it's that extraordinary. It is something that I can be consistently, day in, day out. I don't feel like a fraud. I feel like this is who I am. This is what's in my heart. So extraordinary, what are the ordinary things that we can add that extra to every day? Well, for me, that's being joyful is ordinary, sharing it with other people is extraordinary. I like that.
So when I started to think about really what that word was, and it's two words, because it's extraordinary. So when I thought about that meant to me, I thought it really is a bit more than, because extra is a bit more than. And does that mean actually an extraordinary life is more than the life that I have at the moment? Which means my life at the moment isn't extraordinary. But when I started writing what an extraordinary life would look like, all these words about feeling were coming up. So feeling present, feeling joyful, feeling abundant. And I realised that I was in control of that I could feel all of those things right now. And then there wasn't any need to wait. And then everything really else that I wrote about what an extraordinary life would be for me, around how feeling excited about life and feeling energised and doing wonderful things and having wonderful experiences and making a difference to people's lives, I thought either I already have them or they're so easily within my grasp. So essentially I already am living an extraordinary life. It just needs to have some tweaks in there. And really to maybe it's about really appreciating what that life is because really when I think about an extraordinary life, it's about feeling excited about life. It's actually feeling in the moment, and what that comes down to me, and this is a realisation I made quite recently, is really about having faith. So living an extraordinary life is about having faith and faith in me, and having that feeling of certainty and security that, you know, that I'm worth it, really. You know, and I have all these talents and skills, and my purpose in life is to go out and share them with other people, and having that knowing that this is a purpose, and I can touch other people, and I have touched other people, and there can be nothing really more extraordinary than that, than being a catalyst of change for someone else and helping them see what their potential is, because by doing that, all we're doing is realising our own. And that's more than, that's extraordinary. So I'm already living it. I just need to remember that and have faith.
Well, this morning, David, I had a great breakthrough after the picture I drew yesterday and the walking over the bridge to get here. And I've realised that creating the extraordinary for me is having a different relationship with time and self-care and immediacy. So I've done things in the past, like maybe had a deep conversation with someone and then thought, oh shit, I've got to be home, you know, I've got to rush home now, or I've got to go and do this project, or I've got to write a report or something. And I've then left the brilliant deep conversation and rushed off, but still been half in it and thought, oh, and then been cycling off somewhere or getting a bus, but not really been present because I've been still thinking about something else. I haven't given myself the time to digest it and let it percolate through me, because I've been kind of thinking about the next thing and I haven't been thinking about my own self-care. And this morning I realised that my time I've drawn it as an equation actually, that if I see time as in a different dimension, like if I see that it's more important that I spend 10 minutes after that deep conversation absorbing it and letting it percolate through me and learning from it, that time is worth much more than 10 minutes. It's probably worth like 3 hours or something, or it could be 3 weeks, or it could be a year of important learning. You know what I mean? The value is based for me on the quality and what I'm getting from it. And that if I give myself the time I need, at each moment I think, right, what do I need to do now for myself? And I use time like that, I ask those questions more often, I will gain so much more in terms of self-care, but my experiences will be much richer and I'll be much more in the present. So that was a massive kind of awareness. But also, to sum it up, I'm going to become a conveyor belt user, which for me is a beautiful image, because what I'm going to do is whatever I need to do at that moment, I'm going to put it on the conveyor belt. It's like I'm going to do it, I'm going to let it go, it goes off, it's done. I'm not thinking about it anymore. I do the next thing. I put it there, it goes off, it's finished. So I live in the moment, I do the thing, I don't even think about doing the thing, I just do it. I do it, and the analogy for me is it goes on the conveyor belt, off it goes, it's gone past my vision, I don't think about it anymore. And then I move on to the next thing, and I just do the next thing. Rather than, in the past, I'd have been there going, gotta do the thing, Sue, gotta do the thing. And I'd be like, yeah, but I'm just doing this other thing, I'm just watching this film, or I just need to chill out for a little bit, and I'll be there. And then I'd be trying to psych myself up and going, come on, you've got to do the thing. Like 2 hours have gone by and you haven't done the thing. And so I wouldn't be enjoying what I was doing, so I'd be thinking what I still haven't done. So I put a lot of energy into putting things off and that whole procrastination thing. So I was never really in the present. And for me now, to be a conveyor belt user is a lovely image for me. It's just beautiful because I do the one thing, it's done. I don't even think about doing the thing, I just do it. So I have a sense of ease and grace, and things are effortless. So I'll have more energy, and I'll be more in the present, and the time will take on a different dimension. It will have a richness and a depth to it that I've never considered. And I've made friends with time. I've seen it as a friend that I can be friends with. It can support me. Rather than in the past I've seen it as an enemy. I've actually drawn it as a hand. I've shaken hands with time. And we can work together and we can form an alliance. So I formed an alliance with time, which I'm really happy about.
So when I first heard this question, I thought so many things came into my mind about the big vision. And then I realised what that was about. And I came back to a simplified version, which is coming home. And what I mean by that is really feeling that power each and every one of us has. And it's that heart, and that it could be in your belly, wherever it is, but touching that. I think sometimes we all forget it's there, and a big part of my life up till now, I didn't even touch that place once. it was almost like I was living, but not. And I see that, I guess when you touch that space, anything is possible. And I see that the extraordinary is to guide people towards that, so they can come home too. Because that's when I found myself. And I lost my ego self. I lost who, in a good way, I lost how I identify myself, because before it was about my roles, it was about my relationship to family, it was about my identity in the world, it was about how much I earned, it was about my degrees. And it's not about that. For me, it's about connection and that space, touching that space between our form and the formless. I think that would be extraordinary for everyone to feel that and feel it deeply.
Extraordinary, I can't even say the word. Extraordinary for me means really relaxing into being all of me. Not hiding bits or holding them back. Saying what I want to say and just seeing what comes from there. And I have this, I've been engaging in a daily practice since the beginning of the year that has been allowing me to explore and allow that voice to bubble up, more of me. And it's brought more creativity to everything that I do. Sometimes I wake up and I've got, an idea, and I can just scribble it down straight away, and I just feel like, wow, that wouldn't have come if I hadn't been doing what I'm calling really good self-care. So the self-care is about some meditation, actually doing some writing each morning. Sometimes I use affirmations. I'll write down things that I want to achieve. They could be quite specific or at a higher level, but the thing that's actually happening in doing that, creating space for me, is these ideas are flowing. And one day recently, I think about 4 weeks ago maybe, I woke up with this, I need to capture this. And it was all about how I'm learning from this approach and this sense of I have a really, really strong connection with absolutely everybody, that we are all connected, everything is connected. And I think it's something, I can't think of a time when I didn't believe that, but I guess I lost my connection with it in terms of it being up here in my mind. So I'm sure I believed it as a little girl, and in this daily practice I have really deeply reconnected with it. And so what I want to share is that actually we can all have that, and when we connect with ourselves and with Source, God, whatever you want to call it, and each other, then actually the deepest knowledge, wisdom, inspiration, creativity is all there inside, ready to just come out. And actually that's what I want to share with other people. And a little while ago, I think if I'd had that idea, I would have held back and thought, that all sounds a bit, in the woo-woo camp. And right now it's like, why would I hold back from sharing that stuff? Because it's an amazing place to be. So after I'd had that morning where I kind of wrote the feelings of that down, I was in this, right, who can I share this with? In the past it would have been, right, let's just put that over there and see what comes next. And I'd have probably forgotten about it for a while, but I was in this, right, I need to share it. And there's one client who immediately popped into mind because we've been talking about stretch, and he said he was open to more stretch. And I felt like this is the stretch, and it's not just for him or anybody I work with, it will be a stretch for me, and that's also even makes it more exciting because I'm in this place of, God, what will I do in month 1 or session 1 when we sit down? But I just want to do it. So I shared it as a proposal, and we had a conversation about it about a week later, him and his wife, because they run the business together. And he, just from the conversation that we had in the room, was like, I really want to do this. And she's more pragmatic kind of person. Yeah. So she was like, well, what is it? What are we going to be doing? Wanted the detail. And I haven't written a month 1 it's this, and month 2 it's this. It's not that kind of experience. So I kind of explained about the feeling that it was about, and that I think they got from the energy and how I was explaining it what it might be. And so they want to do it. And I think we'll be doing it in the autumn when they have their new financial budget. So what is it I want to be? The person who just goes, I've got this great thing that I'd love to share, and no editing, no holding back, just get out there and do it. That's who I want to be, and that's who I feel I'm becoming. I know old Jane would have held back from that in some way, as I say, and gone, that's all a bit weird or whatever, and I don't feel that now. I know it's not for everybody, and that doesn't matter. It could be for everybody, and as long as it falls on the ears of some people who are receptive, then that's great, because I just want to be doing that work. That's what I want to do. I want to share it. It needs to come out and not just be something that I do at home. So that, I don't know what your question was, but anyway, that's my answer. That's my answer.
Where do I start? Where do I begin? How do I start?